But an overly logical brain is an overthinking brain. It's a brain that will have a hard time generalizing from one situation to the next. An overthinking brain will get stuck on one detail and have a hard time seeing the big picture. Overthinking brain will get hyper-focused on one aspect of something and almost be unable to see any other angles of the problem or the situation. So logical brain is their asset, and 90% of the time it's all good. But 10% of the time, especially when they try to apply logic to their wife, it causes nothing but pain and agony. So now we have the NT wife who's damn near the 180-degree opposite. She is high in social and emotional intelligence, which by default means she is high in social and emotional needs. She certainly has logic, but not as logical as he is, and her logic is almost completely different. So what ends up happening is in the early going of the marriage, in most cases, some of this may resonate, some of it may not. But the vast majority of the time in the early going of the marriage, or the relationship really, even before the marriage, she is his special interest. And so she's in the front row seat. She's in the driver's seat with him. And that is when she gets the indication, hey, this is a good match for me. I'm getting my intimacy needs met. I'm getting some emotional reciprocity. The guy seems to be a fairly normal dude. And then as the relationship gets deeper and deeper, you introduced, now he has to meet his in-laws or his soon-to-be in-laws. Then there is, in an ideal scenario here, or an average scenario, there's marriage, then there's kids. And he would say something along the lines of, as this relationship grew, which it's supposed to grow, it got messy. It got messy, it got complicated, it got stressful, and I didn't know I was pulling away, but I started kind of disconnecting, mostly out of an anxiety reduction attempt. And also once the newness of the relationship wore off, I kind of gravitated back to my original special interest, and she kind of lost first spot with me. And so now she is not getting her intimacy needs met. And so she, in various ways, tries to recruit him back in as that original team playing thing that she thought she had at the very beginning. Unfortunately for this situation here, her attempts to pull him back in and to reconnect ended up having, in most cases, the opposite effect. Her intentions were good. She thought she was doing the right thing. She was doing the only thing that she knew to do at the time. Her message delivery raised his anxiety, which caused him to distance even more, which in turn angers her now. So now when she approaches him, there could be resentment, sense of feeling abandoned, a sense of disappointment. He knows he's not meeting her expectations. He knows in some cases he's a chronic disappointment. And all of this causes him, or he chooses to do some form of a meltdown or shutdown, again, for anxiety reduction purposes. So we get into this dynamic where she pursues and he distances. She pursues, he distances. And if this thing plays out long enough, she stops pursuing and she gives up and she says, I'm emotionally deprived, I'm depressed. Sometimes she will say, I have PTSD, I have Cassandra syndrome, and on it goes. And oftentimes the couples will get to the point where they don't even talk about difficult stuff anymore. She will say, in many cases, we don't even discuss anything anymore because whenever we try to problem solve or engage in any kind of conflict resolution, it just ends in a shit show. And so we just don't even discuss stuff anymore. So in the closet back there, there's piling up these problems from last month, last year, 5 years ago that have still gone unresolved, all the while her resentment grows. And his attempt to avoid dealing with the problem because he's not really sure what to do. B, he's already tried all he knows how to do. And C, he thinks in many cases that whenever he makes any attempt at all, it makes a bad problem worse. He will often say, and I am speaking in generalities here throughout, he will often say, it doesn't matter what I say or do, it's never good enough. And in many cases, my attempt to try to fix something makes it worse. And so both parties are in this, I don't know if I want to call it a war of wills. It's certainly a war of trying to change the other person. We'll just call it that. And that's about the time people show up to me, either in the groups or on my blog or on the YouTube channel or whatever.
If you are in a neurodiverse marriage, where one spouse is autistic and the other one is not, and you've been struggling for years and years, and you're kind of sick and tired of the routine, talk to me. Use me as your personal coach. I have groups, and I keep these groups small so that you can get a lot of one-on-one attention. I have 3 Q&A groups, one for ASD husbands, one for neurotypical wives, and I have a couples group where both spouses can attend. I also have 2 instructional groups, Cassandra Syndrome Recovery Group, to help you cultivate some strategies to recover from years of emotional deprivation, and the Men's Masterclass, in which we take a deep dive on developing social skills and emotional literacy in the context of the neurodiverse marriage. We meet 1 hour a week for 4 weeks. These are face-to-face Skype calls. So how much longer are you willing to wait? The links are below in the description area, and also they're pinned in the comments section.